Guys, guess who's back? It's me, JT, and younger brother, MT, Matthew Toronto. We can be heroes, baby. Listen, look at this geeky shit up here. Look at the geeky shit up here. I've added more to the collection in the time I've been gone, and I'm so happy to be back, to be talking about what we love, to be doing what we love to do, and to be here with you. Matthew, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing good, brother. It's been probably like 15 years we last seen each other on the pod, and no, because we've been talking about it for a while to get out some more content, and a lot of a lot of shit has been happening since then. But fortunately for us, it's died down a bit. I'm just so I love you, bro. I mean, we always see each other outside for the pod and everything, but I'm glad to be sitting here with you and talking about what we talk about. Marvel, DC, Star Wars.
Oh,
We're nerds. We're nerds at
all
heart.
the good stuff, baby. I mean, look, full disclosure, people, Matthew and I and me, myself, for certain other things, it's been a crazy few months, right? So my little hiatus, disappearance, whatever you want to call it, don't want to make excuses, but let's just say life gets pretty hard, right? And the story, or I guess the lesson I've learned through all this is, man, just enjoy every moment you have with who you have. And that's, something that this helps me keep that good peace of mind, right? This is what we do. This is what we love. And I'm back, baby. I'm back. And I'm not going anywhere. Matthew, I think it's time to get into some content. What you talking? What you think? What you think? You ready for this? You ready for this?
I'm ready, bro. I've been waiting for this
Oh
for a long
man,
time,
but
man.
we got to get into this because I know you weren't the biggest fan of it specifically, but it is time to talk about my man Kenobi. My man Kenobi. Oh my God, I gotta tell you. Listen, now I've been on the pod, right? But it don't mean I ain't been watching the shows. I've been watching the shows. I'm watching all the shows. I've been on the Star Wars. I've been on the Marvel. I've been on some of the DC with the little animated Peacemaker, which we do have to do a pod about as well. I'm loving the constant Do you remember when we first started We Could Be Heroes and we were mid COVID and we had nothing to talk about because all these shows and cast members and everything was delayed, pushed back, delayed, and we felt like we were just in a dry spell catching up, right? But now we're just getting flooded. Let me ask you this: like, do you enjoy the massive amount of content coming out, or do you think that the content coming out as relative to anything hero, right, is downing the quality? So the quantity is dope, right? In reality, it's more stuff to watch. Who doesn't like that? But do you feel like the quality is coming down with all of these projects, specifically from Disney, just kind of getting flushed in, right? And if Star Wars may be a little different because there's not as much, but I feel like Disney Plus has something like Return and a new show's out, right? So, what's your, I guess, initial opinion on that? Do you think it's kind of weighing down the quality?
Yeah, I think you answered part of the answer the question, which was I still think that Marvel particularly uh has emphasized more unintentionally or intentionally has emphasized quantity over quality. And I think if you look at even as recently as just the VFX artists complaining about being overworked, not being in the best conditions, or just not claiming Marvel to be these great partners as some might expect. I think ultimately that it's reached a point where I'm feeling overwhelmed, and why bother sacrificing millions of dollars if you're not going to produce something good, or give your creators, your writers, your VFX artists the time necessary to make something as great as it can be. And all that is subjective, right? I think as I always try to point out in my ranting, that I will never hate on somebody for a different opinion. But and as as we discussed outside the podcast, I've been a bit disappointed with the direction Marvel is going as of recently. But or even Star Wars as of recently. But then again, I'll be like the first person to watch it anyways.
Right.
Hoping that there'll be the one project that really, reinvigorates my passion.
Right.
Again,
So I mean, I'm kind of in agreement, right? I love the content. I want the content to have some depth and purpose, right? And I feel like that's been lacking. Now, I don't know if that's because, and people have explained this, phase specifically with Marvel, phase 4 is intended, right? It's like look at it as phase 1. Forget the Infinity Saga ever existed. This is phase 1. In phase 1, there wasn't really a lot of depth between movie to movie, right? There was a lot of solo adventures, and eventually the Avengers team up at the end of phase 1. Maybe they're doing something like that, right? It seems like they're building different type of teams. I mean, there's the cosmic, the mystical, the uh grounded or more
street
earth
level.
street level. I can think of the word, yeah. Street level kind of characters, right? So it seems like they're building a lot, but my worry is that's going to become too much. I mean, Kevin Feige can't be everywhere unless he is the what's the guy that watches the Watcher, I think, literally, not the Watcher, the living tribunal. Who is it? The one that's super high, like the one that watches the universe itself, I think they call it, whatever.
Oh, I know exactly who you're referring to, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Essentially, it's a character that watches over the entirety of the Marvel multiverse, right? And
The Watcher,
Kevin
actually. You're right.
is the Watcher. Yeah, okay. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kevin Feige specifically is not that. He can't keep track of every single project that's going on in reality, right? And maybe there's some continuity issues, some content. I don't really care about the continuity issues because things are going to happen. There's so many projects going on at the same time, but I want quality. I want depth. I want interesting content. And you know what? We're going to scratch the Kenobi talk real quick. We're going to go right into Thor: Love and Thunder because this is the antithesis of what Marvel's supposed to be, right? Uh, Thor: Love and Thunder, to give a quick synopsis, in my opinion, is one of the worst Marvel movies I have ever watched in my lifetime. And people will disagree. They'll say, "No, it's so funny. Oh, it's Taika. It's a Taika movie. Oh, this is the best Thor." You're lying. Just stop lying to yourself. We don't have to be to the point as people who watch this content. We don't have to say everything's great, right? It's okay to be constructively criticism, give constructive criticism to the content that's out. Thor: Love and Thunder was trash. There's no other way to explain it. I have tried to give it a better grade. I'm going to watch it again. Sadly, I'm going to watch it again to maybe see if there's some semblance of something I missed or whatever the case is. When you look at that movie in totality, it is nothing like Thor Ragnarok. And I know people will say, "Oh, you're expecting Thor Ragnarok, you're going to be disappointed." No, I disagree with that. I'm expecting Thor Ragnarok. Give me something like it, right? This was so far away. Funny, yes, it's very funny compared to Ragnarok. Da, da, da. This is so far away from the balance that Ragnarok had. Ragnarok was extremely funny. It helped fix Thor in a sense, right? It gave a different view and perspective and theme and everything. Like, I'll never disagree with that. But Thor Ragnarok had stakes. It had stakes involved, right? We have father dying in the beginning. We have Thor trying to save Asgard. We have Thor's development as a character to finally think, well, Asgard's here, right? Asgard's not a place, it's here. This is why we're able to go do what we need to do. And Thor Ragnarok had, or I'm sorry, Thor: Love and Thunder had none of that. They completely botched. This is supposed to be a quick overview of Thor: Love and Thunder for me, but this is how much I hated it. Gore the God Butcher was butchered. I mean, when I say Gore, I'm gonna make this abundantly clear. Christian Bale did amazing for what he was given. This reminds me of Kenobi in episodes. I'll say more so 3, but 2 and 3, right? Like Kenobi was the bright spot. Like Gore the God Butcher was the only bright spot, but they only had him in screen 4 times. How do you have one of the most infamous villains in Marvel comic history on your screen, on my screen, 4 times. And how the hell? And it doesn't make any fucking sense that the God Butcher butchered one god in front of us. Okay? Oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy pull up all the alerts in the universe. Oh my God, all these alerts. That's 1,000 gods that I don't give a fuck. Show me murder. Show me murder. He is Gore the God Butcher, not Gore the God. Oh, I wish I watched the Butch. What is this? What is this? It was a, I like. It's almost to the point they ruined the character, right? I mean, they didn't do what he's supposed to kill.
Yeah,
that is his job. His one job is to literally butch the gods. Gore the God Butcher. Yeah. That is what he has to do.
Can I just interrupt you?
Sorry, you can. Sorry,
real quick. No. I was gonna just to show you folks something. Just make sure to take it out as gently as possible. Precious cargo. If you want to read a good story, look
at this.
Great. Everything you need to know about the character is in this amazingly written book here.
It's
let me read you a line.
Now, real quick, is that a this is Marvel Comics line, correct? This isn't a book relative to MCU.
Correct.
I'm
just
right?
We're just So I'm
just making sure. I don't want people to think that it's like sometimes they have books relative to the MCU. So that's one.
I also wanted to support how Gore was butchered. Let me give you a few quotes he says in that comic. Feel that little Lord of Heaven, that sense of helplessness as you fall. That is how it feels to be mortal. Next, you will learn how it feels to be butchered. There are 2 kinds of gods, those who do harm and those who do nothing at all. I have yet to decide which I find more worthy of my wrath. But soon it will no longer matter, as all gods will have many important trait in common. They will all be dead. I said I would save you for last, God of Thunder, and that day is imminent. The first day. Oh wow, I typed that terribly. Anyways, I don't even know what I wrote there. And then the last one, because you see how petty and useless your kind truly are. Everything complex about the character was completely taken out in favor of a forgettable villain. It is absolutely appalling to me how they could have ruined such a fascinating character, a character who originally never even believed in gods. One of the fundamental aspects to his character is that, he very much has no faith in these supposed gods. His tribe in particular, were these I guess you can call them these zealots or whatnot, where they follow very specific traditions, and eventually what's the word I'm looking for? When you remove somebody from a party, basically, if you know, not expelled, but I think you know what I'm getting at. And that was because he buried his son with stones. And in the beginning of one issue, he starts off by saying, well, if gods existed, why am I suffering? And then when he discovers that gods existed to begin with, and he comes across a necro sword after 2 gods face off against each other, right? Then the sword itself, it doesn't corrupt him. It amplifies his rage that he has for these gods.
Right.
Because what frustrated me even more is that after one of the gods died in this battle, he's reaching out to Gore saying, please help me. And then Gore responds in anger saying, help me? You want me to help you? Where have you been this entire time? My wife died. My mother died. My son died. And you have nothing to show for yourself than to be this petty being. Because for him, Gore's main purpose is to show how useless and pathetic gods actually are. Thor doesn't face off against Thor doesn't face off against Gore because he's wrong. He faces off against him because he's getting the shit beat out of him on multiple occasions throughout the comic line. So they just never fleshed out that aspect. And mind you, what I'm saying here does not even do justice to the brilliance of his character. I easily recommend a bunch of videos if you want to just have like a quick overview of who he is, or at least the breakdown of the character in case you
Right.
just he's fan of reading comics. But it's it is shameful. Sorry, I just figured I'd
No,
support
you're right.
your claim.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. The comic line had Gore being the God Butcher. So it's such a simple statement to make, but it's the reality is we didn't get the character we're supposed to get. They completely botched this, and I have heard the rumor that the reason why it was so goofy and all those little things happened is because Korg was telling a story, and Korg is, if that's the reason why or the excuse they're going to make, then fire everyone, because I don't think that's the case, but I think they could and would use that as a backup. Thor: Love and Thunder had the second worst drop in second week sales in Marvel Cinematic history. The second largest drop.
65% drop, right?
Because it's that bad. And the thing is, like, I get it. I know people out there that say, "Oh, it's a Ragnarok type movie. It's it's Wakiti or TD, whatever. Taika is Taika Waititi. It's his kind of movie, and this is who Chris Hemsworth is as Thor now. And the thing is, how the hell do you have such a monumental resurgence of Thor? Right. Let's talk about. Okay, so we have Thor 1 that was, I think, critically received, but got better over time. Right. I think a lot of people initially critically received and agree that it's becoming one of the better Thors. Right. You're one of the people.
Yeah,
We have
definitely
Thor: The Dark World that I think is bad, but it's not as bad as people say. Right. It's sometimes unwatchable, but it's not the worst content out there. And then we get into, obviously, Thor's in the Avengers movies, Civil, or no, sorry, not Civil War, and then we get to the point. Okay, Thor's gonna get a Thor 3. All of us are thinking this is it. Like, Thor 3 is his last chance. Needs to do well, so on and so forth. Right? Thor gets probably one of the best movies to ever come out for Thor, in my opinion. It would be Ragnarok. In terms of balance, right? The things that we want to see, you can argue some things you don't like. Everybody has their differing opinions, but for the most part, Ragnarok was a success, right? It was great. We get Avengers: Infinity War. Thor's arc, that, in my opinion, I think you and I have said this, that was a Thor and Thanos movie. That, like, Thanos for sure, 100% of Thanos, or like almost you want to call it origin story, but it was very Thor centric, and his development, his arc up to that final stabbing Thanos in the chest was perfect. To that point, with Ragnarok included, a perfect arc to that point, right?
And I think I just what you said makes me hate the direction they took Thor, because in this comic line it actually goes across 3 eras of Thor facing off against Gore. So you have an 83980 present day, and then the millennia from present day. I think it's
Right.
how they and all of like the Thors are distinct from one another. But the millennia Thor is basically stuck in Asgard. He's lived so long that his friends and family have since died, and he lives this very regrettable existence. So what frustrates me is that in Endgame, they take someone who is clearly suffering from anxiety, someone who's suffering from guilt, grief, and turn him into a complete joke when they could have really had an opportunity to have like an in-depth character study. What someone's willing to do, to not accept the reality around them, or even treat his people with decency, because he was busy sleazing away in his home for God knows
So
how long without
I
tending to his.
think I think you would agree with this. Then I don't mind the I don't know, call it like push by Marvel to show that, right, to show someone that's dealing with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and all these other things. I don't think there was the need for a joke within any of his scenes, right? Show the depthness of someone that's gone through what he went through, that thinks he's the reason why the world fell apart, right? He's a god. So in the end, he's gonna survive. We understand he's a god, right? But don't make it a joking matter. If you want to get serious like that and show that development and show how someone can rise through it. If none of those jokes happen that you referenced, but then we get him in that final battle scene in Endgame, that shows his arc just shooting back up. He's getting to the point where he was at his apex in Infinity War, right? Right before Loki died. And they did nothing but just go down. I mean, it's downhill completely, right? Like we get at the end of Endgame, we know he's going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's gonna fight with them, so on and so forth. But what they did is completely ignore, and this is in Thor: Love and Thunder. They completely ignored any character development or arc. They threw characters together. It seemed like at times they had such bad cutaways on scenes that they tried to fill that up with corny ass jokes and corny ass jokes that didn't even really make sense. Like, does that make am I making sense here? Like,
Yeah,
it literally seemed like at one time the director goes, "All right, cutscene. Oh no, wait, go back. We got to make a joke." Like, it feels that way. I don't know what you think, but
I said that someone described it best. I know TikTok isn't it's a weird place sometimes, but I did find it I did find the comment funny. It was like it's like someone gave SNL a $200 million budget.
Right.
This is just an SNL script with
It
Marvel
it felt
attached.
like an extreme parody. It like and there's people that really enjoy it, and I get that. And I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't enjoy it, but it's not what I wanted to see based on the Thor that we have seen develop in the MCU so far. They like give me one instance where there was like you felt like stakes were at hand. Korg
None.
dying, but then he didn't die, and he was a face that's supposed to be funny.
And you described the biggest problem. Well, one of the biggest problems with this movie, which is there were no stakes because Gore. And here's the thing about the comic too: it's not like every issue has them killing gods, but they actually feature a bunch of body horror. So you actually see the aftermath of his killing.
I would even
The
take
only
that.
aftermath we saw was, like the huge monster. I forget his name. They gave him a name in the comic, obviously, but
Right.
they literally took that panel and then recreated it on screen.
Right.
Uh, Civ wasn't there
Right.
or whatnot, but I'm thinking to myself, so you looked at the comic, why are you not like, did you just like skim read and you just picked out a panel? Was like, oh, that's a pretty looking shot, and just shut it, and then you just did your own thing? Because his motivations, and sorry, I'm gonna keep speaking the door because this movie got me so mad. I actually went out to buy the comic to see like how badly they did his character. So I guess I'll be the Gore talking, and obviously John, you can just rant on everything else because everything you say is pretty much going to be on my mind anyway. Since like and stuff. So you look at Gore, and his motivation is, his daughter dies in the opening scene, kills him, gets the necro sword, and then that apparently corrupts his mind. At least that's the way it's presented. Okay. And then the ending of the film, he immediately goes against his wish to kill the gods at eternity and instead opts to revive his daughter and then begs to Thor to take care of her. So you're telling me that in a single scene, your entire perception of God's changed because someone decided to be nice to you? What? In the comic, and again, I very, very, really like making that argument, like, oh, in the comics, because obviously the
They want to
MCU and
change
the
things
comics are
up.
going to be different.
Right.
But I'm just speaking to you as someone who's read it now, like what they missed out on in the end comic. His son, he recreated his son and wife, and the biggest frustration for him is that his wife actually called him a god, and his son basically said, like, you're my love, you're my husband, you're my god. Because the ending, after he's killed by one of the Thors, his realization is he became the very thing he sought to destroy, a god. because he basically captured God from across a bunch of different time streams to create the God bomb, and then he wanted to eliminate all of them at once. But given his power level and sort of his, it definitely has like an arrogance to him in a way, but like it's just frustrating. It's like Thor looked at Gore and said, "Oh, he's killing people. That's it." Like there's like a, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place, but like there's also like an introspection scene after Gore's death, where like the older Thor goes to the present day one and says, what if Gore was right? Like what if you know gods are not what aren't really what they're supposed to be,
Right.
And then the present day Thor responds with, well, then let's try to do better, you know,
Right.
because let's try to answer prayers to anyone across the galaxy, so that so basically their experiences facing off against Thor made them, reconsider their approach to helping others.
But the
That
thing
was
is,
the ending, and they didn't do any of that. They didn't do any of that in this movie at
that
all.
in itself, if they were able to do that, could have redeemed the movie. There were two things they could have done. I think maybe more, but two things for sure they could have done is, yeah, they could be jokey, whatever. They can have that included. But have Gore be essential to Thor and the other gods out there. Have Gore and what he did be essential to their development. Oh, I think Gore's right. Like he's doing things the wrong way, but he's not wrong, right? Like we can change. The gods can be better, and then a push to do that, right? And secondly, it sounds horrible, but I want to see more death. He is Gore the God Butcher. Perfect way they could have even tried to fix this, right? They go to see Zeus. Is Zeus, right? To get his help, right? Essentially to fight, to go to the uh shadow realm or whatever the hell they called it. And at that point, when Thor's speaking to him, Gore pulls up and just starts massacring everybody there, or at least trying to, right? And that's one scene that could have fixed or helped. Like we would have
Oh
seen
my
he's
god,
the
bro.
fear that they have. I
They
mean, we saw the fear that they had off a little joke from Zeus. He's got the Neko sword, whatever his little joke he did with Thor. Like that, this is so pathetic.
they
They
literally, bro. You know what they could have done? So I told you this already, but like his basically Gore's plan was to create something called the God Bomb, which for those who don't know, basically eliminates like every god across like the time stream, I think they call it, or like time streams.
right,
If you're not gonna have Gore kill everyone, which would be difficult to accomplish because Gore was like what made him scary in the comic too is that he wasn't killing gods in a pattern. Like there wasn't a discernible pattern to his madness. Like he was literally like
right,
killing gods at random. Like
right,
he would come across a god, kill them instantly, then
right.
move on to the next. And a lot of them weren't responding for so many years, but no one thought to investigate it. Again, an example as to why gods are inefficient at their jobs. Like you're telling me your people are getting wiped out and you're not even remotely curious as to where they are, why they haven't been contacting you, etc.
Right.
Anyways, like but anyways, I think like in that scene, why not have Gore somehow capture a majority of them and then send them over to, I forget where he sent them to. He's basically like at a point in time or whatever, and then had them be creating the God Bomb essentially.
Right.
And then if you wanted to have like the gods, you're gonna have your action sequence or whatever, extend that. Maybe have him send out his cronies, or they call them the Black Berserkers in the comics, or whatever. Have them face off against the gods while Thor and Thor and Gore are preoccupied with each other.
Right.
And then obviously the ending will be the God Bomb is destroyed or whatever, Gore dies, etc. But don't have him beg to Thor saying, look after my daughter. Saying what happened, like it's just it goes against everything like he stood for in the movie, and like that's the thing. It's just like they didn't explore any of that. They didn't have that introspection like you were saying, or really because it was really like, okay, scene, cutaway joke, scene, cutaway joke, cutaway joke, cutaway joke, scene, progress the plot, make sure you're progressing the plot, go back to more jokes. go back to progressing the plot again. There is no like this. It was just. I'm sorry. Like I said,
It
thoughts are
was
all
a
over the
total
place. But
mess. It was, I mean, we're talking about uh, uh, a space Viking, right? We're talking about mystical, magical, cosmic, and we just go back to Earth and New Asgard. We see, and to not even, I mean, we haven't gotten into the fact of Jane Foster herself and the storyline that she has as far as getting cancer, and Mjolnir is her solution, but also her her sacrifice, right? Like every time she uses Mjolnir, she gets sicker. Every time she clicks out of being Thor, she's almost near death. And they found a way to kind of bring that in, but the manner of which they did and the amount of jokes they had kind of intertwined and so sporadically, and it seemed like nothing was in making sense. Her story had no impact for me. Like, I obviously it's impact in the sense that someone that has cancer tries to be a hero, makes a sacrifice play, all about that. Jane did good in that sense. But the corny catchphrases and the just throw it in our face that she's Thor and not showing her development to that point, right? It just doesn't make much sense to me. And then not even to mention on top of that, we have Valkyrie, who you and I talked about, had a chance. Marvel has been making a big push for inclusivity and for develop characters for LGBT and woman, and that is the most amazing thing they could do. And I agree that it needs to be the case. We need more culture. We need different races. We need all of that in there. But they gave Valkyrie nothing. Valkyrie is and supposed to be King Valkyrie. She is supposed to be the leader of the Asgardians. She's supposed to be the 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 person, right? And I'll go back to the new Asgard scene after the kids were kidnapped. So for those who don't know, and spoilers, I guess if you're still watching at this point, uh, the kids of Asgard are essentially kidnapped by Gore, right, as an attempt to get Thor to go there. And all the parents are in this community center at New Asgard, and Valkyrie's trying to calm King Valkyrie, by the way, is trying to calm everybody down, get them together. As soon as Thor walks in, he gets his loud voice in, and everybody gets quiet and listens to him. That's pathetic. Like King Valkyrie, who was ran Asgard when Thor decided to be not decided, but had this PTSD and was nowhere to be found, and she ran it all. She developed New Asgard to the way it is. Can't control her people at all. Let's be real here. They completely botched Valkyrie too. That's not fair for that character, for that actress to have so much development in the MCU, to have a potential to be in a high standard point right within the MCU, and they botched her. They let Thor just take everything over.
I yeah yeah and I think like you take her out of the movie, nothing changes,
That shouldn't be the case, though, right? I
which
mean,
is the problem.
she is one character I was so excited to see some real development for. Honestly, she like it's crazy, and I'll go over a little quick pop point from the comic books. So at the end of the movie, Jane Foster ends up in Valhalla heaven, right? And in the comics, Jane comes back as a Valkyrie. So I assume and presume Heimdall is going to help her do that, right? That's the whole purpose of showing that post credit scene. And she will reunite with Valkyrie, and they will be Valkyries together, and they'll rebuild the Valkyries probably, and that's all going to happen probably in a new Asgard TV series announced next week or something, whatever. That's probably coming, Matthew. Another series. And I just I'm not a fan. Like they have to do her some justice. It was completely wrong how they completely threw her development and any potential for her to be a true king. They threw her to the side, and it wasn't fair.
Yeah, she
And
was
like
very underutilized. And
Thor bailed on them for 5 years, comes back now, mind you, within those couple weeks is when he came back and then they only tried to go back in time to fix everything. And then after Endgame ended, when they killed Thanos and well, the entirety of Thanos' army, he goes right into the Guardian ship and says, "Valkyrie is all yours." So Thor has been MIA for 6 years on these people, and they're just gonna listen to Thor because he comes in with a loud voice. Get the hell out of here! That is such a pathetic way to show how Valkyrie has helped the new Asgard become what they are.
To become this financially stable nation. Something that did bother me about how they presented New Asgard is, I know obviously it makes sense for them to, begin various businesses, have New Asgard be a place of attract or be a place for tourist attractions, etc. Why the hell would they make an ice cream shop after a genocidal maniac?
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, I understand that there's like a joke to it, like, oh
Right,
haha, like look at the Infinity Globe, but like he wiped out half of all living species
right.
in the entire universe, and you're dedicating a ice cream
And
shop to
quite
that?
literally, Loki was snapped by Thanos, and he's Asgardian. So, like, uh, the
It's just weird creative
they did
decisions
things.
like
So
that.
look, and again, if they want to use the Korg story thing, go fuck yourself. Don't even try that with me. You guys botched. Okay, you wanted to make a funny parody SNL type show movie, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and you completely botched character development on many sides. You destroyed anything on this Gore the God Butcher. He should have been. Why can't we do long term villains? Why can't a villain be the main focus of the movie and not die?
So that's a fair point. I think in the case of Gore, he's the kind of villain who shouldn't live because he's one of few that his presence will always be felt even after death, as seen in this particular story. Where I mean, I do agree it's getting like a bit like repetitive at this point, where like the ending of every like Marvel movie, it seems like, or
Right.
every Marvel TV show, like the villain in some capacity dies instead of them living on, etc. But in the case of I'm sorry, case of Gore, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, they made such a terrible film in my opinion. And something I do want to say is Taika Waititi is by no means a bad director
No.
at all. I mean, you look at his work in Our Flag Means Death, a great HBO series, if you haven't watched it. You look at his work on Reservation Dogs, which I'm unfamiliar with. I haven't seen it myself, but it's critically acclaimed. It has a huge fan base. So anything outside of the MCU, he's created, very heartwarming comedic films that fit his style. The problem is, I think, like in the case of Marvel, he doesn't fit very well, and you have to give him characters that fit his style. A character like Thor cannot be treated in such a way where it's just joke after joke after joke after joke after joke. It gets tiresome.
Right.
And frankly, I wasn't laughing at all in the film. I was just annoyed. And mind you, this is coming from someone who wasn't the biggest fan of Ragnarok over time. That is, when it first came out, I absolutely was. But you know, I just I agree with you. Like, I think Ragnarok, for example, like actually struck a nice balance. And that film has a fire soundtrack too. By the way, it's
It sure
phenomenal.
does.
Love and Thunder does not, but
Right.
that's another aspect to talk about in and of itself. And everything. That's the least of this movie's problems. Music is like the least of this movie's problems. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but at least if it's so bad, they could have made the music good.
yeah, it was just like forgettable. This whole movie, I just want stripped out of my head.
I'm gonna
But
watch it again just to give it. Just I'm gonna be blunt. It's gonna be one of the worst scores I've ever given a Marvel movie, and I will promise you, it's either gonna go lower or stay where it is. There's no going up. The second viewing is gonna make me more nauseous than I was when I first watched it. I don't know how on my 30th birthday, when I go watch a Marvel movie, I'm supposed. Why the hell? So I don't know if you remember this, man. Another Marvel movie you watched on my birthday in the past was Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man in the summer, and
and Black Widow, right?
yeah, and Black Widow and Ant-Man and Black Widow are both better than Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I'd
100%.
be yeah, I think Black Widow is like more bland than anything else. It's just like
You know, it's bland, but
you know what I
let me
mean?
say this. How the hell are there more stakes in a movie where we know the girl's going to die later, not now, than a movie that we know like nothing is even like how the hell are there
Yeah,
more stakes
that's
in Black Widow?
I
How?
will say though that first act for Black Widow was so good though. The opening scene was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the title credits, but
Yeah.
yeah, that whole like first act carried the movie, but then
Right.
it
Mm.
became what it was,
Pew.
and then Ant-Man was Ant-Man.
Yeah. But
There's nothing
funny,
wrong with that.
couple cool things, whatever, seeing things small, whatever. Still better than Love and Thunder. It shouldn't be, but it is. It is.
Yeah. Um. Well, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to discuss about Love and Thunder, or is that you think we
Honestly,
wrapped everything up?
I get nauseous every time I think about it. So I think we're about good. How about a quick rating? What do you want to do out of 10? What would you give Love and Thunder?
Oh, that's rough. I was hoping to do out of five, so it looked it's just great.
Do out of
Um,
5. Out of 5, fine. We'll do 5.
out of five. Okay, so I'm trying to think. I'm gonna take one good look at Door Love and Thunder poster real quick. I want to stare it in the eyes when I gave the score. All
Fire
right.
poster, by the way.
Yeah, that poster was fire. Um, yeah, this movie right here, right there. Yeah, you're 1.5 easily. That's a 1.5.
Matthew, I told you this is gonna be one of the. I'm gonna give a hot take, and I don't care what anybody says, and I know they hate them, and I know they think they're pathetic, and shouldn't even. X-Men First Class far superior than this movie. Fox X-Men movies are
Oh,
are
that's not a hot take. First Class is phenomenal. Actually,
it's
it's phenomenal.
well, yeah, in my opinion, it would be pretty high up in the MCU rankings if you were to put it in rankings, right? But I'm I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is a 1 out of 5 movie.
Yeah,
I don't even know how you give it that 0.5. Like you know what? How I get take that 0.5 away? Eat my hammer. If she didn't say that, 1.5.
yeah. I think
Like
so.
it's just
I can't think because I've never watched the Incredible Hulk. Dark World, I don't remember. So taking those two out of the equation, I know I've said Captain Marvel was the worst Marvel movie because it's actually the first one that ever made me fall asleep. Because I remember the part I fell asleep too. It was actually you remember how like the scrolls were like the good guys or whatever? Like it was like the
right.
reveal scene. I fell asleep when they entered the shack, and then I woke up to him saying, "We need your help to get us home." Well, like I looked around, I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" But then again, I was like exhausted that day, so
Right.
I just say it, you know what I mean. I just say it to say it, but I think it
Right.
might be the worst MCU movie because I can't think of anything that's worse at the. It's one of the worst. I had to look back because
I mean, can
Captain
you
Marvel was a
really
good movie.
compare Dark World and Incredible Hulk? Incredible Hulk is semi MCU, right? It isn't really MCU. It was just like, hey, we had this out here. Didn't really. It won't. Ross is in it, right? Like, there's no big deal if you include it. So they did, right? Let's so to even include that, sure, but it's it's right as bad as Dark World. Like it's there, man. I'm
I agree. I'd be
like
inclined
all
to say Love and Thunder is worse if I'm being honest. Well, then
you
again, I
could
don't
say that.
remember.
The thing is, like,
I don't
I'm
remember
not.
Dark World though, so I don't know what made it bad. You know what I mean? I remember like
I'll
the
rewatch
fake
it
out death.
again, but
Yeah.
I honestly, I lean towards brother. I don't know. It's a one. It's a one. Thor: Love and Thunder is that bad. It really is, and I'm not happy with it.
Stick with the 1.5. Then if you watch it, go down with it.
I might give it a 0. Like honestly, like Matt, you don't
Oh,
understand
okay.
my level of total distaste for this movie.
Jesus.
The only thing that gives it so I wish I could rate Christian Bale as Gore separate from Love and Thunder. I think Christian Bale, given what he was given, playing the character himself, did great. Like I
He's
think
a sign.
they had an opportunity here. I said this before the movie ever came out. I knew it was going to be a Taika film. I knew it was going to be kind of funny, whatever. But I said Christian Bale has a chance to be Heath Ledger to Joker because this character is that impactful, right? And Christian Bale is a great actor, and I thought he could do it. I didn't say it was going to happen. I wasn't guaranteeing it. Obviously, Marvel bossed it. Marvel Studios bossed it. Christian Bale did great for what he was on screen for and what he was given. I think he did very good.
Yeah, I think I just hate his design because like I'm just gonna show the cover again. And I know it might be a bit hard to see. So like look at his
Right.
design.
So good.
But then
Well, I
again,
guess the change was
With COVID and everything, I understand they
it was
had to.
COVID, and then there was a rumor that he looked too much like Voldemort, and he didn't want they didn't want Voldemort to be like and people Harry Potter heads. I'm a Potterhead, like I love Harry Potter. And obviously, they were probably worried about that, which is fair. Whatever, I don't agree with it, but yeah, one. It's a one, brother.
Yeah,
It might drop down to
because
0.5 if I watch it again. So
yeah, because I was thinking about like the scores and everything. Because Captain Marvel was bad in my opinion. I think Brie Larson. I think it was probably just directors and screenwriting gave her nothing to work with because she was very robotic in that movie a lot of the time.
right.
Um, so I don't fault her for that at all. When it comes to Dark World, I can't remember what made that movie like bad. I just know I didn't like it when I watched it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the Incredible Hulk, I've actually never watched the Incredible Hulk. But then again, because Edward Norton was cast as a character originally, then he brought in Mark Ruffalo. So, I don't remember that movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a bad MCU movie in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's
I'd
Love
have to
and Thunder.
reconsider the scores because I don't want to say like Love and Thunder is the worst.
Yeah, I know. I'm just that's how mad I'm about it right now. So
Yeah. I got
we'll
you.
we'll leave it
I had
at
to
a
reconsider.
1.5. Let's do 1.5. I'll stick with you at the 1.5, and then we'll save some room for improvement or not, and that is going to be improvement. Because you can
Well,
still and then you can still if you decide to rank them, you can still say they're all bad, they're all 1.5s, but this is only a little better because of XYZ, right?
so that's probably what. Yeah, that or I can. Cause I can't. Can I get this movie a two? No. Anyways, I don't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all good.
don't want to drag
So
on. Yeah.
I think it's time to move on to another quick Marvel series that we just finished up. Matthew, I'm sure you're nice and up to date with Miss Marvel. So, initial thoughts, initial rating. Throw a rating out there just for the heck of it and talk about it.
This it's a quick thing. I'm trying not to be harsh. I'm trying not to be harsh. I'm gonna give it a two. I'll be honest. I was gonna give it a two. I was going to give it a two. I'll give it a 2.5 because Iman Vellani was really good in that role. And if she was not cast, I can guarantee you I'm not watching that show. You will never find someone as passionate for Marvel and as charismatic for that character,
Right,
period.
right.
Because she, like, you can tell she embodied that role. She's a huge fan of the comics, but it's just the story was so lackluster. It had such a strong premiere episode, and then this fell flat. It went
So
down and down and down. So we can give our in-depth thoughts at a
yeah,
later time, but yeah, that's sort of where I stand on that. It's
so
just another.
I'm not gonna go here and say it's a 5 out of 5. I'm gonna stick with the three, a solid three, and I think is it Iman, right? Iman
Villani, I
Vellani.
believe is how to pronounce the last
She
name. Yeah.
she was phenomenal. So for those obviously you don't know, I'm a big fan of the Marvel Avengers game, and that's how I even knew who Ms. Marvel was. Right, she was in Human. She got a Terrigen Mist blasted on her, and she became in the Human. Um, Iman played this so great. Like they had to change some things up as far as she's a mutant now apparently, which we'll get into it a little bit. They had the how she got her powers. They're not powers within her, but more so powers that were given by the Bangle. Um, but overall, I think it's a solid, great, like I said, great premiere. Very downhill 2, 3, 4, slight bump up, nowhere near the premiere for 5 and 6. Right, I think 6 was a good ending. I wasn't too unhappy with it, but that hard curve down
Yeah,
really hurt the series.
because
It
I'll
really
be
did.
honest, it was hard for me to sit through Miss Marvel at times because I was
Right.
just not. after the first episode, I was like, okay. The ending of the first episode almost made me fall off. I was like, oh, seriously, you have that girl swinging back and forth on a huge door hammer. Like, okay, I'll watch the next episode.
Right.
Okay, third episode, fourth, fifth, the sixth. I'm like, I'm trying not to be harsh at all because I
Right.
like elements of the
And,
show.
and they're trying to keep it more
Oh,
grounded, right? It's a
yeah.
Disney Plus series. It is literally a teenage girl that's 16 that's becoming a superhero. How that would be, the mistakes they would make, almost like what they refused to do with Spider-Man at points, right? The mistakes you make along the way becoming a hero. And I think we they're gonna finally start to show the reality of it. But um, I think they did pretty well with her as a character. I think she portrayed the character very well. I wish there was a little more at stake. You know, always going back to stakes. The story fit for what they had out there and changing her origin. And I think the post credit scene was amazing. It's like clearly mutants are now official beyond belief in the MCU. Wanda is a mutant. There's the stone woke up what's within her. Same for Quicksilver, right? But specifically, I can't remember the Miss Marvel's friend that talked to her about her mutation. Um, can't remember his name for the life of me. He when he talked to her, for those who don't know, they're playing the X-Men '97 music in the background, right? There's the which means they're saying that she's a mutant, which
I
is
think
fine.
is that going to be like the main theme for X-Men and AMC? I don't know why they do that though. I feel like they should make something different. I
I'm
feel
not
like it's
sure. Maybe
defaulted
they'll.
for now, but
It's a default probably, but I think they'll as they maybe they started off with that and then change the development into something better and bigger, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you know, I think that's what they're leaning towards for now, at least. But at least we have confirmation now. I guess you know, not to really skip Miss Marvel talk, but where do you, how do you think this is going to happen, right? Like the X-Men are a very established group. They were established back when Xavier was very young, Professor Xavier, when Magneto was very young, you know, in 20s, whatever you want to call it. And then we see them older for the most part in most of the comics and series and all these different things we watch, right? All the Fox movies, for example. Do they just throw these characters in and say, "Oh, Professor X just got his powers at the age of 65"? I mean, what do you think? How do they do this? Like, how do they fit them in? Is it a multiverse thing, incursion? I mean,
It has to be because I've spoken to you a bit about this, and I don't like how they're just gonna start shoehorning in mutants. Like they're gonna say like every like new hero is all of a sudden mutant now, even though they
right,
weren't in the comics. I think the in order for it to like happen organically, it's got to be a different universe. And then at some point, like you're saying, maybe an incursion occurs. Some multiversal event happens. I know Secret Wars is a huge topic of conversation.
right.
I know that whole story isn't is a it's like the multiverse is a backdrop, but it's really like it's basically like the comic equivalent of Captain America Civil War, where
Okay.
it's Captain America's story with Avengers, so like with an Avengers supporting cast. You know what I mean? So I think
Right.
it'll probably lead to that. Um, so we'll see. I wasn't like I mean, I'm glad we're getting mutants as much as the next person, but I wasn't like happy that it was like her because her being Kamala only because like I feel like Marvel just hates seeing humans, and I feel like it just like shows after the 2018 show they just like I don't know. I mean, you kill off Black Bolt, and Mom said something funny. I think I think she has like a Reddit or something. She was like, yeah, no, or she said in an interview, she was like, I don't like how they did my man dirty. That's my, you know, you know what I mean.
Right.
So I found that pretty funny. But like, I don't know. Do you agree with that? Like that they hate Inhumans or
Did they kill off Black Bolt in the Human series?
no? I don't even know. I remember
I
he
feel
like
like
this.
watching it just to watch it, honestly.
I think he destroyed like the moon base or whatever. That's all I remember. I forgot like where he went afterwards.
How
But it was kind of
corny.
weird because like it's MCU. Well, that's the one show I know because that's another topic we could talk about, like what's really MCU canon and stuff. But I feel
Right.
like that's the one show they're just never ever gonna acknowledge again. Like they're just gonna say, yeah, that never happened. We wanted it to be MCU canon. People hated it. I feel like it's one of those things that they're not really gonna. They're gonna like say, we admit we made some mistakes. They're not gonna say outright trash because it'd be disrespectful to whoever worked on the show.
Right.
Um, I don't imagine they're gonna be using the same cast members, which is unfortunate. Because I feel like you should at least give them like something to work with again.
Right.
This is
Right. They
say,
may.
hey,
I mean,
we're
I don't.
sorry.
I don't think the Inhumans are out of play here. I just, I wonder if they're only going to have them be in another universe and access them through there and never combine them into our universe. Right. They don't have Kamala not be an Inhuman and then suddenly have the Inhumans part of the main MCU 616 Earth. Right. So I think they're gonna play with it very. It's gonna be a fragile thing they do. Right. They got to be careful with how they do it. But I agree. I don't want every new character to say, "Oh, he's just a mutant. It's all good. Don't worry about it." Like that. I'm not a fan of that. That's not something I'm interested in necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll see. Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think Marvel has a lot of can definitely tap into a lot of potential with these characters, but judging by Love and Thunder, or in my opinion, just like the inconsistent quality of Phase Four,
Right.
I am a bit skeptical to see what they'll do. But I've been proven wrong on a number of occasions. I want Marvel to do so. I also want them to stop pumping out as much content as they are. Take your time, give the VFX artists, give your writers, give your directors enough time to put together some really great stories.
Right.
And then as a result, you'll be rewarded with a lot of money and less criticism when you produce something that's, of a higher standard, you know,
Right. Right.
or they'll continue making money off these bad movies like Love and Thunder, and they'll just never change. But we shall see, right?
Right. Right.
We'll see.
You will see indeed. So, I mean, I guess we'll go over real quick. I got a few series. Speaking of the future MCU, and hopefully things get fixed over time. The rest of the year is looking pretty great. So, full disclosure, we have San Diego Comic Con coming in 3 days. That will be Thursday until the end of Sunday, and there will be a ton of announcements. I'm going to be keeping an eye on everything on social media and videos through YouTube relative to Comic Con, anything Marvel announces or releases. And I will 100% do a podcast on specifically that, the future of the MCU. A lot is going to be explained that week, and I feel so. I'm very excited for it. There's a lot of panels out there. Deadpool's rumored, Black Panther 2 trailers are rumored to come. We got Blade and Dracula, like all these announcements and crazy rumors have come out. But let's get it confirmed this weekend when we talk about it. But for the rest of this year, we have I Am Groot coming August 10th. Pretty excited for that. It's just a bunch of episodes, short episodes of Baby Groot, and I think it's around Guardians 2, Matthew, if I'm correct, a little
So
after.
Gunn made a weird remark about this not being MCU canon.
Hmm.
So I don't know what they're doing. I feel like that's just like something they wanted to make for the hell of it.
Maybe, or either way, still
I don't
something fun
know.
to watch, right?
So
And then we
yeah,
have your soon to be favorite series ever, She-Hulk.
not watching it. I'm sorry. No disrespect to She-Hulk. No disrespect to the creators. No disrespect to anyone who's looking forward to it. That trailer may have been one of the worst I've ever seen. That CGI for her was abysmal. That CGI
I
for the
doubt that
backgrounds,
that's actually going to be the
abysmal.
case. I really hope they fix that.
So I don't think they can. That is, and I only say that because, as I said in the very beginning, like with the whole VFX artist situation of them being very outspoken with how Marvel treats their workers, I
Right.
don't see a reality where they can somehow fix it before release. They're gonna have to fix it after episodes come out, and then
Right.
they're gonna be overworked. Probably not gonna be paid a ton of overtime. It's just Marvel keeps putting out these absurd demands and expects them to finish in time, and it's just you know what I mean? Like,
Not a
I'm not saying the
reality.
show is going to be like the worst thing ever, but
No, I think it's gonna be pretty good based on all the cameos they have. Right, they're gonna have Daredevil, they're gonna have Jessica Jones, they're gonna. Oh, I'm sorry, no, Jessica Jones and Echo, but they're gonna have Daredevil. They're gonna have obviously Abomination and Hulk is gonna be in it. And honestly, there's a rumor out there too, and I'm sure we'll discuss when it's announced officially that World War Hulk is coming. Which, for those who don't know, all I'm gonna tell you right now is pick up a comic book, pick up that comic line, read through it, and show finally how diesel the Hulk is and what he can really do, right? The level of power of which he can. So I think in this series we're going to see a little bit of that Hulk come back, right? The Hulk that we know, the crazy maniacal Hulk is going to come back. We have Black Panther Wakanda Forever coming November 11th. I am personally excited for that. I hope they do Chadwick Boseman well with this, but I hope they have a great story with it as well. Namor is expected to be in it, which a lot of us are excited to see him in the MCU. So,
Did you hear that
um,
Doctor Doom rumor too? Go
I heard
floating
I
around for
heard
some
there's a
reason.
possibility of him being in there. I just think that was a rumor started by
Yeah.
social media. I don't believe that, but if that's the case, that's the case. But I mean, honestly, I don't know if they're going to lean towards the Fantastic Four. It just disappeared back in the 80s or something, right? Like I don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to go about it, but I what are they just going to go on exploration suddenly and then get their powers in a negative zone? Like I guess they could, right?
Do you want John back as
At
Mr.
this point,
Fantastic?
John Krasinski, I would say at this point, no. You want to know why? Because I think Marvel's just messing with us at this point and saying no, it's not him, or we just did that to mess with you guys in the multiverse of madness. So now that they said that, screw you. I don't care. Even though I do really care. I do want him back though. The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming in late 2022. We have Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, which I'm super excited about. That's coming in February, but there might be a delay, I think, actually, on that. I don't think February was the date. Is it still February?
I think I think
I
it
thought
is
it
because
was delayed to July, no?
I think they pushed up,
Pushed up. Okay,
and then
so
I think Captain Marvel got pushed to July of next year, if I'm not
right.
mistaken.
And we
I
do
could be
have
wrong about
Jonathan
that.
Majors officially being the villain, Kang the Conqueror, one of the variants. I don't think it's going to be the main Kang, right? The main Kang that they fight, but I think it's one of them for sure. And there's a rumor that this is going to be almost entirely in the quantum realm, this entire film.
Explains why they
Guardians,
use the volume so much.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, 2023. We got the Marvels in July of 23. We have Echo at the end of 2023 with Matt Murdock and Kingpin coming back. Jessica Jones apparently being in there. Whew.
I will not watch Echo, and I,
I will watch Echo because Kingpin.
I so I'll say it on record for those wondering why. I said to John that like I I'm not watching the show because I think it'll be bad, but I know given Marvel's recent track record with their shows, there's no, and I know it's an unfair standard to set, but there's no way in hell they will make Matt Murdock as good as he was in the Netflix series, nor will they ever make something as good as the Netflix series. Because when the Echo comes out, or when that Daredevil solo series inevitably comes out too, I will always, no matter what, compare it to the Netflix show
So
because it was canceled on my birthday. I'm
I
never gonna forgive Netflix or Marvel, whoever's responsible for that.
Netflix.
That's so Netflix. So that is why.
So I
With
will
that
say
being,
this
yeah,
though.
you know what I'm saying.
Let me
So
just say this real quick. They know that there's like 95% people who are thinking exactly the way you think, right? They're very aware that people want this to be just like the Netflix series or close to it. I think they're gonna try. I think they're gonna try. They may fail, but I don't think this is gonna be a botch like Love and Thunder, like a
those
purposeful
did,
botch,
did you
right?
see those writers?
Yeah, I mean that could
Those
affect it.
writers
Yeah,
were bad. Like they're like one of the movies they made was like it was like it was like a Christmas movie with Tim
yeah,
Allen and
but
Jamie Lee
Feige has a
Curtis.
huge say and all that too. So I mean, yeah, again,
I,
back to Love and Thunder, could screw everything up. Who knows? But
we'll
I
see.
think I
We'll
think it's
see.
possible. We'll
Sorry,
see. No,
I'm
you're good.
pessimistic, but yeah, I just
X-Men 97 in 2023 as well, and then Secret Invasion has an or no date. So I don't know if if you knew this, but Kevin Feige said this is going to be the MCU's most ambitious crossover since the Avengers movies.
yeah. Did you hear
So
they're doing like 6 months worth of reshoots right now?
yeah, because it had something to do with Ukraine or something. I think too. That it was very centered around Ukraine,
Yes, 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 yes.
which makes sense. They're doing that, but I think all of the characters are going to be there. Obviously, we may see almost every single character, but I'm almost thinking this series is going to be during the blip, right? I mean, can we assume that when everybody got snapped away? I mean, that's kind of what, like, at least showing us
Well,
how they
that
invaded, right?
so the I would agree that there'd be flashbacks, but not the entire show because Nick Fury was snapped, and he's in the show.
Hmm.
So the entire show wouldn't be set. But I do agree.
I mean,
They're
unless
probably well.
they somebody just portrayed him during the 5 year gap,
No, that's always possible. It's true.
just
Anything's
so he kept
possible.
things
But
together, especially with Sword,
so,
right?
um, I don't want to use the word like I agree because obviously we don't know. I
Right.
like that idea though of exploring the 5 year gap because that's something I feel like Marvel hasn't tapped into, and I
Right.
really feel like it'd be a nice opportunity to explore the true ramifications of how the world was split in half.
Right. Right.
Um, you know, that'd be dope.
It'll be very interesting. Agatha House of Harkness, nothing to say about that. Armor Wars, Undated, no really information at all. I'm assuming we're gonna get some of that in San Diego Comic Con because that was not so while ago.
Yeah, I think the only update we have is that they're just writing the script. So I
Right.
think that's probably not coming out until like 24.
I know we have our girl Riri Williams appearing in Ironheart. She will be appearing in Black Panther Wakanda Forever this year as well. Spider-Man freshman year animated series pre Peter going to Civil War. Marvel Zombies, assuming probably it's loosely adapted from the What If show, the zombie What If show. And then we have Loki season 2, which I'm excited for. What If season 2, that I hope is much better. Oh lordy, I hope it's much better.
Yeah.
And Blade, Fantastic Four, Captain America sequel, Deadpool 3, Daredevil, Wakanda series. I mean, Nova. Like, there's all these rumored, basically confirmed projects that I think are going to be announced in these coming
Yeah.
weeks. So
I'm gonna say right now that there's one character I don't want you to screw up. It's Nova, specifically Sam Alexander.
right.
Do not. I'm Marvel.
We're talking
I'm begging you.
like elite level of power for Nova, correct? Like
He's
we're
literally like
right,
he's Sam Alexander is the most powerful Nova, um, in the comics. So,
right,
and you're looking at someone whose father was also in the Nova Corps. He has this very like, arrogant, like, and tries to be portrayed as like this giddy person when in reality he doesn't know the true extent of like his powers, so to
right.
speak. And the arrogance sort of comes out in how he treats certain situations. I think he was also trained by Gamora a lot in the comics too.
Do you think we're
Um,
going to see um
or
Thanos
something like that.
annihilating Nova Prime as like a flashback before the maybe
So I I understand that they do that, but like, where the hell was Nova?
well, I don't think he
You
existed,
know what I
right?
mean?
Maybe he
So
didn't get his
I
powers
think it
yet.
might, I
So
think that, or it might just be like a different Earth. I think
oh,
they had to start doing different Earths, but then again, I
universe,
know it
yeah,
might be complicated,
yeah,
because you're gonna
figure
do
it out.
like Earth for this, Earth for
So
this.
I think they're going with the whole concept of uh kind of like the Star Wars concept, right? There's billions of stars, which means billions of suns, which means billions of planets, but also trillions of galaxies that go past our galaxy, and they can just have them all throughout that, right? So I mean, there's hyperspace travel for a reason. I think they're going to say, like, all of this is done in such a far part of the universe compared to Earth, it's not going to affect anything going on Earth, right? Same idea, Captain Marvel. Like when she said, "You're not the only planet that's dealing with what you're dealing with. It's every planet in this entirety of the universe that's dealing with it too." So, I think that's the concept they're going with. But they have the option of the multiverse, but there's only so long they can continue to use the multiversal excuse, right? They can't keep that book open for too long, in my opinion. Whether that's a multiversal event that brings everybody together or whatever the case is, we can't use that as a cop out forever. You know what I mean? That just can't be the case. But I'm excited. Marvel has some good stuff coming along, and of course, DC. I think with Black Adam, we can get into that in another episode. But I think that Black Adam might be pretty decent. We have, of course, a ton of Star Wars content coming out that Matthew and I are very excited to steer away from the Skywalker saga finally and get some new content that we don't have to even talk about the Skywalkers at all.
I'm really excited for Andor. I know it's said a part of the Skywalker saga. I think that might be the best Disney Plus show. I'm convinced now. I really think so.
I think so too,
bro. If they can bring in, like I'm terrible at remembering. Sorry, not to get sidetracked, but like,
yeah,
I'm terrible at remembering like the timeline in terms of like, because some shows like start at 1 year and then they sort of creep their way into another show, so like those are sort of happening at the same time, sort of thing. But if it's possible, I love that they bring in like Hera from Rebels, maybe even possibly Kanan, because I know they kind of had to be careful
timeline, right?
With the timeline itself, because he didn't reveal that he was a Jedi until like a bit later, or at the times that he did, it was like on the most rare occasions.
So
Sabine, Zeb,
they have a possibility to bring in. I mean, Andor's coming this year, correct?
Yes, in August.
In August. So they have a possibility to bring in every Rebels character they want as far as the main characters. You want to know why? Because Andor leads right before they all died on Rogue One. So like Luke and the main canon of the original trilogy will have anything that happens in there will have no effect.
I just remember something.
Perfect.
Too. Yeah, because they said her name even in Rogue One, like the scene where like all the like troops are gathering to head out to the planet. They said her name
General Syndulla
on the comm system, and Chopper was there too in the background.
Yes, he
so
was.
They can connect it.
They can connect it completely. Absolutely. So Kanan could be a possibility, right? This is a story we didn't see, but now we're going to see it. So we might see some Jedi, which I'm not opposed to. You know, we'll see some Inquisitors probably too. I'm assuming. But I hope they don't depend on that. I'm very excited for an Andor focused series, and I agree. There's going to be a ton of Rebels references, which is what we need because Rebels is so good. And I go total sidetrack, obviously, but look, we're excited for all of it. We're excited for the DC, even we're excited for Star Wars. We're excited for Marvel. All this content coming out. Comic-Con's on the way. We're gonna have all that for you as soon as possible. But first off, Matt, tell the good people where they can find you.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Insta, Matt_T29. As you can tell, me and John actually love doing this. We're glad you're still staying with us despite everything going on. Love you guys so much for your support, and we're looking out to we're out here gonna keep pushing out a bunch of content for you guys, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC related, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And look, of course, you guys can find me at Jon_OTS on every single platform. But please go over to the On the Sidelines Facebook page, OTS Media Co. Facebook page, and drop a follow. Join the Facebook group. Come and talk to the crazy people in that group because they're all crazy and I love them all. Go to the Instagram, follow the Instagram, share all of our stories, share all of our podcasts. Go to the youtube.com/OTS Media Co. That's OTSMEDIACO. OTS Media Co. And look, we appreciate every follow you guys give us on the podcast side, the YouTube side. Every view you give us is much, much appreciated. And again, I'd like to apologize for my hiatus, but life happens, but also life goes on, and I'm here. We're ready to talk about all the good things that we talk about, and I'm very excited for Comic-Con to see what else comes out. So we love you guys. Thank you for sticking with us. We can be heroes, baby. Peace.